when there's CALYPSO, ting nice again. On Friday, June 24th, ting nice again. 22 Calypsonians vying for a place for the finals, featuring guest performer Wetty Beats.
But trust me, my friend, things go nice again. It must again.
Ting nice again at Victoria Park. Admission $25. Stay tuned for more info.
SVG!
Let's get ready to rumble!
We ready to rumble! Ready to rumble! Ready to rumble! Royal Rumble!
The Flag Fest, aka Soca Monarch semi-finals. Sunday, June 26th at the Emerald Valley Casino. 20 Raga and 20 Power Soca artists will compete for a place in the Grand Soca Monarch Finals. Represent with your crew because the biggest flag and biggest posse wins a prize. But wait, that's not all. Hold up! Before the show, we hit the road
For a massive street jump up!
from Matty's gas station to the casino.
Murder!
It's no Emerald Valley turnover.
Jesus Christ, mother walk, look at people behave.
Sunday, June 26th, SVG.
Let's get ready to rumble!
Good evening and welcome to this week's edition of Roundtable Talk. Well, it's the month of June. That means it's carnival season here in St. Vincent and the Grenadines. Of course, we have not had carnival since 2019 as a result of COVID-19. But 2 years later, carnival is back. To talk about all things carnival for 2022 with me this evening, we have Edward Roberts of the Carnival Development Corporation. We have Earl Bennett, the president of the Calypsonians Association. We have Rodney Small, who is the president of the YOULOU Pan movement. And we have Garth Niles, the deputy chair of the Carnival Bands Incorporated, the CBI. Good evening, young men. Welcome.
Greetings.
Good evening to all. Good evening to you, all your viewers. I'm happy that you noticed that we are young men.
Good to see all four of you.
Nice.
I hope the viewers
Tell
see you too.
We haven't had carnival for 2 years. Tell me what's happening. Are we ready? How are we going to do this year? And I think I'll start with Ezzie, who is part of management of the CDC. So you probably have a better grasp on how we going to do this and how are we going to do it?
We're going to do it in fine style. we didn't have carnival for 2 years, as you said. And we were given the green light to have Vincymas 2022. It started with the initial thing was that we were to have a vaccinated version of carnival. But then the COVID numbers went down and we were allowed to do a full carnival. All right? So that is what we'll be having for 2022. The usual type of activities where we have parties, we have the street jam, we have juve, mass on the street, etc. There are a couple of changes to the program. There are a few events which we will not be hosting, and we have some changes to some of the programs. But generally, it's a full carnival with all the elements.
Okay.
One of the change I must mention though is that some of the involvement of some of the components of carnival, you will not see that competition aspect. There will be appearances and so on, but there will not be competition with some of the components. Appearances, for example, for mass, you're gonna have the junior carnival on Saturday. It would not be a competition. For Mardi Gras, you would see mass again, but it would not be judged and so forth. All right. So, but in terms of CALYPSO, that's competition. We have the Soca Monarch, which will be competition and so forth. And of course, Steel Pan, you'll be having Panorama, which Rodney will be able to tell you a bit more about that.
But Panorama will be judged. It will be a competition.
Yeah, of course, totally. In all its glory and elements. You know what I mean? Panorama is on. Battle of the locals.
Okay. What's happening Calypso-wise? I know the tents opened last night. There was a first show last evening. There's another one this evening. What's happening in the Calypso arena?
Calypso is on the go. And as Beckett said in his masterpiece, the season will start with the Calypso. And certainly, the season has started with the Calypso. Last night we had graduates Calypso tent. Tonight we have upstage experience. And tomorrow night, Thursday, we have on tour. That is the pattern. So next Tuesday, Wednesday, Thursday, we have the preliminaries. So they will face the judges tomorrow. I want to hasten to add though, that this year, all of the tents have decided to incorporate Calypso. And persons who know me know I already refer to Calypso as Kaiso, Raga Soca, and Soca. And last night you saw all those elements in Graduate's Calypso tent. It will be repeated tonight at Upstage, who actually, that was their brainchild when they first came into being. And Thursday night, Onto will do the same. So expect great Calypso. And who are hearing me, I'm appealing to you. Support the Calypsonians, support the tents. Calypso, me say.
Okay, so Mas, I'm just hearing that there won't be a competitive aspect this year. So tell us what's happening. Where are you?
Mass would be there, as Ezzie said, there won't be no competition because of the lateness of getting Carnival ready. But we have 15 mass band registered with the CBI. 12 would be doing their stuff this day with the same quality as ever before. And mass day and we're ready. Most of the bands are getting ready, if not almost ready.
Okay, there's no competition. Is that in any way affecting participation by mass men and women this year?
I don't think so because we not had Carnival for the last 2 years. I think people are eager to get on the streets and just have a good time. Just release that energy that they have cooped up for the last 2 years. I don't think it has hampered us in any way.
Okay, so the patronage is as in usual years then?
Yes, it is. Most of the bands are not doing their full compliments a section. Like for instance, my band, we normally do 10 sections, but we just scale it back a bit this year. But everything is going smooth so far.
Okay, Ezzie, I'm coming back to you. Is there any significant difference in the way that this year's celebrations are being organized compared to previous years?
Not really, you know. In terms of the plans, the infrastructure, you want to see the same type of setup in Victoria Park where we have the big stage and the canopy with the ramp and so forth. We have to put all the regular infrastructure in place. We would also be having, like we would have had in the past, some of the activities outside of Victoria Park. So for example, we'll be having Evo at the cruise ship terminal where we normally have that party and so forth. So it's a similar pattern. Okay, but I mean, it's in a COVID year, so the competition aspect is missing, but the other things are right there in terms of the level of organizing and the way we're promoting them, etc.
Okay, you said that earlier the plan was to have not a full carnival per se because of COVID, and that was due to the fact that the numbers at the time were high, but that has changed. But it has also changed again because the numbers were very low recently, but the numbers are up again. So will that impact in any way the planning and the actual celebrations?
No, we would actually be having the activities and the events unless there's a drastic change in terms of the numbers going up really high. But what we would be doing from a CDC level and what we expect promoters to be doing as well, because as you would know, in our carnival it's not just CDC that organizes events. We have a number of promoters and we have rural carnival committees that would have hosted a number of events so far. We still have some more activities to be held under the rural carnival calendar. But we, from the CDC level, will be having in place sanitization at events, etc. And we would still be encouraging persons to, to take certain safety measures, into account. And we'll be hoping that the promoters likewise, the Ministry of Health would advise the promoters to do likewise, and still not just for us to throw their hands in the air and to think that and to act as though COVID has disappeared. We still expect a certain level of responsibility to be displayed by the person who are organizing events. And the CDC certainly will be doing that.
Okay, so is the CDC encouraging or promoting vaccinated events, or it's open to everybody?
No, the CDC is not promoting vaccinated events because based on the protocol as established by the Ministry of Health, COVID-19 Task Force, we are guided by that, and there's no need or it wasn't encouraged that we do vaccinated events. So the CDC will not be encouraging the promoters to do vaccinated events. If a promoter chooses to, then on their own, then so be it. But as far as I know, I haven't heard of any vaccinated event being advertised for Vincymas 2022.
Okay, we'll take our first break. When we come back, I want to talk a little bit more about rural carnivals as well as events that are being put on by non-CDC promoters. Back in just a moment.
When there's CALYPSO, ting nice again. On Friday, June 24th, ting nice again. 22 Calypsonians vying for a place for the finals. Featuring guest performer, Wetty Beats.
But trust me, my friend, things go nice again, it must again.
Ting nice again at Victoria Park. Admission $25. Stay tuned for more info. We have all endured the wait for 2 years.
I know you're feeling pain.
Now, our time is here for the masquerade, the sweet sounds of steel, a showcase of CALYPSO and energy like no other at Sokomanar. St. Vincent and the Grenadines Carnival 2022, June 24th to July 5th. Vincymas, ting nice again.
Tingo nice again. When I'm with my friends, we go party and never stop till we end up all in again.
Welcome back. Before the break, we were talking, we touched a little bit on the rural carnivals. How have they been going? Are you energized by what has been happening so far in the rural carnivals? And do you think that this augurs well for the national festival? And I would like to hear from the components on this as well after you were done.
Okay. Well, initially when we got the green light to do carnival, we thought that because the rural carnival committees were not meeting because of all the COVID restrictions, we thought that they would not be able to put together the usual carnival type calendar of events. But we were wrong, because within a short time, the rural committees were able to put together some programs, submitted them and say, these are the activities we want to do. And I really want to commend the persons who are serving on these committees for the way they were able to come together in such a short time and organize activities. I mean, we have activities being held throughout the length and breadth of St. Vincent and the Grenadines, and I have to say the Grenadines as well, because we have two rural carnivals, one in Canouan and one in Beckway. And all these areas will be having activities full carnival-like activities, you know. In most cases, they're not having the full calendar that you would normally see for a rural carnival committee. For example, the pageant is notably missing. There's no pageant was held as a rural carnival queen show this year because they simply didn't have enough time to prepare. But a number of the other activities they are accustomed to, they were able to host. Normally on the rural carnival calendar, you would find about 60 activities or events. This year we had like 32, so we practically were able to pull off that much events under the rural carnival calendar within a short time, and that's highly commendable. I must make note of the soca monarchs. We have had 3 rural carnival soca monarchs, and we have one in Central Leeward. One was held in Barley. That was the first one. The second one in Georgetown, Windward Carnival, and the third one was in South Leeward. The first activity was, while it was held in a rural area, it was organized by a private promoter. The second one was an initiative between a promoter and a rural carnival committee, the Windward Committee. And the third one was solely the South Leeward Carnival Committee. But all 3 activities are well supported, and the contest was, the artists put their all into it, and they were cleanly contested as well. And that augurs well for the National Soca Monarch, because the momentum that we're seeing at rural carnivals certainly is going to come into the semi-finals of the Raga Soca and Soca Monarch. You're going to see that level of energy, that level of vibe and so on, push from the artists you're going to get at that event. And certainly that is also going to transcend into the National Soca Monarch. So we are quite happy with what the rural carnivals were able to contribute over the years, and certainly what they have done this year.
Okay, Calypso, your thoughts on this?
Well, yes, as just said, it's all. But if you remember in my opening salvo, I indicated, as far as I'm concerned, CALYPSO encompasses CAISO, Raga Soca, and Soca. And he has spoken glowingly about Soca Monarch. And this really augurs well for the Soca Monarch. First of all, the semi-finals, Royal Rumble. I'm saying I'm enthused, I'm excited, and to be honest, there are so many young artists that Ezzie did not know that there have been 3 different winners for the 3 Soca Monarch. And that's on the order as well. As far as we are concerned, as far as John Public is concerned and Jane Public, Soca Monarch is up for grabs. Naturally, persons will gravitate towards their country person or their villagers, but on a whole, we are very excited as a component, and as an individual, I can't wait for Royal Rumble to see who will survive the Rumble. Who survives? Certainly will be kings and princesses and queens and princes. So, things nice again.
Okay. Rodney?
Well, I would go a little bit abstract. Carnival is an institution, and I mean, my fellow 2 other components, we are departments of this institution, and this institution is not centralized. So it's not only in Victoria Park at the Carnival office. You know what I mean? So the rural carnivals have their role to play, as much as we, the components and the administration of Carnival, have their role to play. But interestingly, coming out of COVID, you see a lot of the rural committees try to incorporate a lot of the departments, a lot of the elements, a lot of the components of Carnival, which is still commendable. It's not where we want to be, if I can be honest, and we have to be very mindful and careful of that, because what you don't want the new or the young Carnival lovers to label Carnival as just a street jump up or a Soca Monarch, right? Mind you, there are elements of the 3 components in some of these rural carnival, but I don't think they are where they're supposed to be, for many different reasons, right? We can't sit here and don't be honest about it in terms of the support from our local business houses, right? It is not cheap or easy to run a rural carnival and still want to incorporate the components, the other elements of carnival, right? So what will you find happening is that you go where you can make a profit or where you can make some money to pay your bills. But it has to come to a point where, I mean, some of these business houses must make commitment to preserve the departments of this institution, Carnival. Outside of that, I was able, outside of PAN, so, you know what I mean, we saw a bit of PAN, and PAN is placed in almost every community in St. Vincent and Grenadines. So there's no excuse there not to have the component steel pan in the rural activities. But again, there was some constraint in terms of support, funding, but we were still able to see a soloist, a duet, I mean, it's pan side here and then. I'm still hopeful because there are many more rural carnivals to come. Because rural carnival go all the way down to August, correct?
Yeah.
Right, so I'm still hopeful and I'm making an appeal for those who are hearing me, who have rural carnivals to coming up, that, approach. Let's have a conversation. If you don't want to run it directly to the individual bands, there's always the YOULOU pan movement where we can see how we can assist and work hand in hand to have this department being displayed. Now, quickly outside of that, I was a judge, a chief judge for 2 of the so-common acts. And we are seeing something that I think we've been calling for quite a while, where you see the community in a holistic way and now entirely involved behind their horse, if I could call it that. Meaning, a lot of the young artists from these rural areas now have full support from their community, whether it's going into competition or whether it's just to feel a sense of belong. That, yeah, Grabba is from Barley, and I'm happy to say that I'm from Barley because Grabba have a big song. Now, these things drive persons to Victoria Park. We drive persons to the stadium. And then what do we have? We have communities, people feeling proud, a sense of pride to know that I am from here and I could represent with this, right? So from a CDC standpoint, we are happy for that. And I hope that that could be maintained in a clean and respectful way, you know what I mean? Because now you have 3 different Sokomanak winners from the Rural Carnival. One from Lago Height, one from Barry, and one from King Garden. Now, you know what I mean? We know what that could look like, but I want to encourage persons to, don't just label Carnival as a jump up, as a Sokomanak. We have to be very careful where that is concerned. We could be innovative, we could be modern, but we also have to preserve the different departments of this institution, Carnival.
You made some very interesting points. I hope I can remember all of them. I have to also remember that you're basically wearing 2 hats as well, coming also from the Ministry of Culture. Does the ministry have any plans to put into effect to ensure that the festival remains what it really is or should be? That, as you said, it doesn't appear as just a street jump up. How are there any plans to approach this particular issue?
Quite naturally, yes, and not directly the ministry in terms of the department, because CDC is the ministry. It's an arm of the ministry. It's a statutory body. It's a corporation that gets its funding from the ministry. So you won't find the ministry doing a lot of the carnival work because the CDC was set up for that. But there's a marriage and there's a collaboration. Now there's a new unit in the department that is called CCI, Creative and Cultural Industries, which I am the coordinator for. And based on observation, there are some things that we realize that we want to align ourselves with to help the CDC to eliminate some of our deficiencies or challenges. One of the things that we are talking about now, we actually have a program that is running called Open Doors, where we allow practitioners to come in on a one-on-one basis and talk to us. What are some of your challenges? What are some of the struggles that you're having? How can we move you from A to B, right, as a practitioner? Not just carnival, but in a holistic way, right? And one of the things that you find, the most common thing is funding. We don't have money. Now, the ministry or the department don't just give a practitioner a check in your hand or some cash in your hand, but there are a lot of grant fundings out there that we are aware of, that we are now introducing to a lot of the practitioners, where we're going to actually help you and guide you in terms of how can you obtain these grants and help with capacity building. We have just was approved a grant funding from CSME and the CDB Bank that deals with capacity building. And it is mainly to deal with capacity building, one, and minimum certification for our practitioners. So for example, Garth don't need to go to UE to have a degree, but he can go through the NQU department with some level of training to say that he's a certified mass builder, right? Also, being certified, there's some grants that you are now qualified and eligible to obtain because you're now certified in your field, right? And I think that is the direction that we need to go as a department. So the CDC will deal with the practical element, also with some development, but the department now want to think business, export ready, right? In a more practical way, because we could be doing this locally. Locally, we have our products. Yeah, got things look good. But in terms of packaging, in terms of branding, in terms of networking, in terms of promotion, in terms of, I mean, all of the other elements that we really don't pay attention to because we are more in touch with talent and passion and not business. So from the department standpoint, we are trying to move all these things into that direction. You know what I mean? The e-commerce platform, you understand? And all of these things, but it cannot be isolated. So we are guided carefully from the CDC and vice versa. We are also guided carefully by our practitioners. But yes, there's still a lot of work to be done. There's still a lot more convincing to be done because there's a tagline in the ministry that changing hobbies into careers. And we can't do that by just sitting in the department. So we depend on the CDC, we depend on the CBI, we depend on the CALYPSO Association, we depend on the YOULOU movement, we depend on the Gospel Fest Committee. And, you know what I mean, everything on a whole. But we must be patient because it's not going to happen overnight. Because it's hard to tell Blondie board, let me go do a photo shoot, Blondie. You can't get Blondie board to do that. You know what I mean? That's not his style. But once you allow him to understand the nature of it and what's the benefit in it, he obviously would move in that direction. So from the department, we're just being guided. We're working hand in hand. As I said, we have the program Open Doors, which we are allowing practitioners to come in and just talk. Give us an idea of where we're at and how we can help to cushion some of the challenges.
Interesting stuff, great stuff. We'll talk some more when we come back. But before we take our second break, I want to remind people that they can contribute, make your comments, ask your questions, your suggestions by getting on our Facebook page or YouTube page and say what you have to say. We are talking. We'll be right back.
Trust me, my friend, things go nice again, it must again. Soca music must make we unite again. Lockdown, drink down, feeling, go down. Take time, sit down, remember, came from. I'm on the way, I'm positive, feeling the same, I'm following, I'm top. Again.
Carnival's important. Huh? Carnival is more important than I think we perhaps admit it to ourselves, and you know, in society it's important. And my fear is though is that if we go on without Carnival for too much longer, you'll start losing a part of what's important to people.
Again.
Welcome back. The economic climate is a bit iffy now. Has this in any way impacted on sponsorship for events and for Carnival in general? I don't know who would like to take that. Maybe Ezzie, and then the components from their perspective can also tell us how.
Right.
this is
From
going.
a CDC level, certainly, yes, it has impacted us negatively. We have had sponsors, making major reduction in the amount of funds they would sponsor Vincymas in any given year. So you may see a number of sponsors attached to Vincymas still, but the dollar value is not the same as you would have received in previous years. And I mean, we certainly understand the situation, circumstances. We have had a volcanic eruption, we have been through a pandemic for 2 years, etc. So we have accepted these sponsorships, and we are working along with these organizations, companies and brands and so forth, with the understanding that come next year, we should be able to get back to normalcy where our sponsorship level would go up. But certainly for this year, we have taken a serious beating in terms of sponsorship. And we have had some companies that we were hoping to sponsor have not sponsored at all. So sponsorship is down.
I think for us, it has affected us. Boy, you can't have say 100%, but way past that. I mean, for my band, I normally get 5, 6, companies helping us out year after year. This year, it nothing.
And tell us what is your band again, God? Because
Blondie Board and Friends. But I think most of the bands are facing the same problems. As I say, it's understandable. People went through pandemic, the last suffering. Businesses has been suffering. So we just hope next year that things pick back up and everything will be back to normal for Vincymas.
But for me, Teresa, I would make the unpopular statements, and uncomfortable ones. As much as I understand what is happening in the economy, it didn't change the amount of events that we have now that is added to our calendar. Because if we really do a good check, I think it's over 100 or something events we have. Yeah. So it make you wonder, where is the money?
Interesting. Yeah.
But I want to also add that we have to be very careful. And I'm not going to mince my words here, is that we're now seeing a lot of our sponsors being promoters now.
True.
Very, very interesting situation. And I'll repeat it. A lot of our sponsors are now promoters.
True.
So they're in a sense end up being competitors.
There's a conflict.
Yeah, of course there's a conflict of interest. And even just last night in a discussion, I was saying from the government standpoint, and I don't mean politics, I mean government, any government, it has to be written in policy where these companies as business houses, it must be a social obligation or commitment to sponsor culture, entertainment, carnival, because it helps with the development and the preservation of this beautiful national festival. So we have to be very careful. We're not saying that you have to spend your money on carnival, or we're not forcing you. But when you have your sponsors being promoters, and then when it's not something that is written in policy, because as we were saying off air just before we started, that there are models of other countries that has these things written in policy, where your social responsibility or obligation or commitment is to make sure that you're involved, you're sponsoring, you're helping with the development of culture and entertainment. So we have to be very careful where that is concerned. I don't think it's something that the CDC can pick up a big stick and say, you have to sponsor carnival. But I think you as a business owner or a company, major companies, I don't mean the SMEs, I mean major companies, it should be a social commitment or obligation,
Teresa, certainly CALYPSO is an exception. The economic decline has impacted massively and adversely on the 3 tents. And it's interesting that we could tie in these things in, because let me use a term. While CALYPSO, and I'm going to extend it to my sister and brother components, Pan and Mars, not so sexy, they don't attract the kind of sponsorship. And we have to take care. We have to understand the importance of these components. I often say, and the analogy I make is with government. Government has several ministries, right? You have the revenue-making ones, but you have 2 very important ones that don't attract revenue, and they are education and health. How important are those in the whole fabric of the whole scheme of things? But you can't say because they don't bring money, the government must not put certain amount of money to those those ministries. So Pan, CALYPSO, Mars should attract the same thing. And we know you're a private company. We know we can't tell radio stations or companies how to spend the money. But certainly, policy can dictate how we can preserve these important elements of our nation. Not just carnival, of our nation. And people have to understand that. And as Rodney said, when we were speaking off air, there are several models in different Caribbean countries where they are licensed, where private promoters are mandated to pay certain percentage of their takings. And this can happen. And I'm saying I am not against, because I'm very realistic. I'm not against the young people and the jump up and everything. But both of them not mutually exclusive. They can coexist. And we must find that delicate balance where they must coexist. We all live in this piece of land, and we all have to survive. And we only could do it together if we have all hands on deck. It must never be conflict. It must be camaraderie. It must be collaboration.
And yeah, just Ezzie, sorry, go ahead.
No, you go ahead.
I want to flip it a little bit, and I hope my brother and sister components don't be mad at me because it's also realistic. We as components need, as CABBA say, we need to get a little bit more sexy, right? We need to make the packages more attractive. And I mean, Mars is kind of willing in that direction, but I know for Pan and CALYPSO, well, the three of us, we need to look closely to branding. We need to look closely to package. We need to understand our value and our worth. So when we go to, let me use Lotto, because it's a Lotto thing, and we say, Lotto, we need $50,000. This is the value of my steel orchestra. This is what you're going to get from my steel orchestra. So it's not a matter of you giving me $50 because you're sorry for me, but you're giving me $50,000 because you understand the value that I'm going to bring to your organization, your business or your institution. So I think we all agree as components, because CABBA and I, we speak a lot where these things are concerned, that we also have a part to play in terms of putting ourselves and aligning ourselves with modern day principles and practices in terms of getting, it is because when a company sponsor you, it's a chunk of their marketing budget that they're taking from there. So you also have to contribute to that element. True. You know what I mean? In terms of, I don't want you to give me $50,000 because you're sorry for me. I want you to give me $50 because you see the value of me being a part of your business. You know what I mean? So we have to also understand that and start working towards that.
I want to add something else to the discussion. All right? Rodney mentioned something a while ago. Over 100 and something activities and events for Vincymas. And during the pandemic, all the players in Carnival, Pan, Mass, CALYPSO, they all suffered. Not just the components, we have musicians and other persons within the entertainment sector, right? Musicians, artists, etc. And I was making the point to someone a few months ago, and while I was on a radio program, that an increase in the number of events for Vincymas don't necessarily generate increased revenue for the makers in Carnival, because a number of these events don't include anything from Pan, Mass or CALYPSO in these activities and events, and it's something we must pay attention to. All right? When we compare what was happening in St. Vincent 10 years ago, 15 years ago in terms of events for Carnival, and you look at what is happening now, yes, things have to evolve and we have to accept change. But I think that the promoters, an honest conversation needs to be had with them. It's an uncomfortable conversation for some people, but not for me, because I could have it with them. That you need to include Pan, Mass, CALYPSO in some way. Because I don't see a problem with somebody having a fete. In Annisvale, for example, down on the Hardcourt. And you could easily put a steel pan side at the entrance between the first gate and the second gate. All right? You could put a steel pan side to entertain persons while they get down to that first level of security. So you have some entertainment there. You can have some boba dancers right up in that area. You could have some girls in costume welcoming persons, serving them a rum punch, an entry drink or whatever, simply welcoming them in costume and so forth. And I've said it before, you could have calypsonian on stage, you could have a stage where the steel pan playing, you could have some calypsonian singing. It can be done. But unless, remember, the motives of the promoter is totally different than the CDC. CDC has a mandate to preserve culture and to include the components in whatever we do. The promoters don't have that regulation, and the promoters are not being forced to, are not being even coerced to. And it's something, is a conversation we need to have, because we keep having increased number of events and activities. No live band. has been on any of the events that took place between the last month or so up to today. No live bands, so the musicians are not working. There are two bands that played last 2 weekends ago. One was Kinetic that played in an event in Barley that they organized, and another band, High Profile, played for Bomani's event at the Sunset Shores Hotel. And then Vikings played at Mimosa a few nights ago with Diamonds and Pixel. Alright? But the bulk of the events that are getting the lion's share of persons coming out and partying and having a good time. DJ music alone, not even artists to sing, perform with the DJs so they can make music. So the artists are going to the studio, spending their money, produce a song, mix master, release a song, then the DJs get hired to play those songs, but the artists make no money from it. It's something
An important conversation needs to be had indeed. There are some questions here. For the band leaders, someone is asking, based on the economic hardships affecting Vincentians, what has the response been so far for costume sales? For the CDC, is there any indication for visitor arrivals for Carnival, especially from the region? And there's someone who is asking, why, if things so hard in the country economically, why the bands are so expensive? Are they only looking for the visitors to play mass? I think this is way above the means of the lower class. Their words, not mine. It's only for the upper class. So 3 questions, 3 different aspects. So who goes first?
With respect to costing for costume, I mean, the price of material hasn't changed.
It went up.
It went up actually. You know, all right, so you see what we're facing there. I mean, and you have different bands, different prices to meet different needs. Yeah. You know, you have the upscale party bands that go a little more expensive. Then you have the smaller bands that you still go and enjoy yourself the same way. I mean, the experience is basically, you know, the same. You mightn't get it as the bigger bands, but you still could go and enjoy yourself with whatever you got. I mean, I know there's bands have costume as low as $250, $300, and then it goes up to $9,000. It's just up to you. You go and choose what fits your pocket.
I mean, it's just like going to the supermarket.
Okay.
You know, if you're gonna buy, you can't afford champagne, you buy Marby.
Exactly.
Yeah.
You know, is what your economic status is that determines what you can do. But if you want to know that you have Marby pocket and want to put champagne, or as you say, take your hat, put your hat, and you have to reach it.
Yeah,
but as he said, they are affordable bands.
Yeah.
And they are the bands who cater for certain set of people. That's how it is. So you choose, you make a selection.
Yeah, I'm going to comment on this too. And I mean, I was here shaking my head because not everybody in Siemens is driving a BMW or Mercedes Benz, but I'm sure most persons would like to. But they're buying a vehicle that they can't afford to drive. I think people should apply the same principle to playing mass. Sure. You can't be in a position where you could barely struggle to play a $300 mass, but you want to play in a band that's selling a costume for $12 and $15, and then you complain on social media, oh, the price is too high and they're catering for only the elite. That is not so. You know, if you can't afford to play that band, then go to the other bands that your pocket can afford to carry you. In terms of the arrival and so on, in terms of persons coming to Vincymas from the Caribbean, I am anticipating a lot of visitors coming in. I've been told that flights into St. Vincent, you know, have been sold out and so forth. I know we have a little challenge, however, in terms of the Caribbean, regional travel. With the absence of LIAT, it has proven to be a bit challenging for persons from within the region to, you know, to get to other islands and so forth. So that is an issue that I'm hoping that come next year when we will have a full year to plan and promote Carnival, and we will be back to 100% of everything that we normally do for Carnival. I'm hoping that that problem will be alleviated by then. But while we have the challenges, I'm still anticipating massive numbers coming to St. Vincent for Vincymas 2022.
Okay, we'll take a final break and come back. We'll talk some more when we come back. Back in a moment.
when there's CALYPSO, Ting Nice Again. On Friday, June 24th, Ting Nice Again. 22 Calypsonians vying for a place for the finals. Featuring guest performer, Wetty Beats.
But trust me, my friend, things go nice again. It must again.
Ting Nice Again at Victoria Park. Admission $25. Stay tuned for more info.
Welcome back. This is our fourth and final segment for this evening's program. Earlier on, I think Ezzie was the one who was mentioning that there are these events, but you don't find live bands performing or other cultural aspects happening on these programs. The question of live bands, what can be done to make that a thing once again in St. Vincent and the Grenadines?
Question. I like that question. Is the question should be is what is being done? Because from the department standpoint, this year in particular, we have collaborated with the Teachers Credit Union, the CDC, and the Ministry of Education, where for the fourth time we have had the National School Bands Festival. And for the 4 years that have been running, we moved from 12 school bands to 17 school bands. Mm-hmm. But it is not a program issue, or it's not the lack of a band issue or bands issue. It's the lack of appreciation for this element in our country. And again, if we look around our neighbors, they're not moving away from those things. They're actually embracing these things more than ever because it adds value. Now, the only thing we have right now, and I'm going to say it very frank, is human resources. Banana gone, arrowroot gone. I mean, everybody have tourism. I saw a cruise ship with a beach on it, and they know it was a cruise ship. So we are making these things now. So people not coming to your country for these things. They're coming for your way of life. You know what I said? From 13 school bands to 17 school bands, to the point where the CDC now, for the junior calypso and soca monarch, is now using a school band, members from a school band. Now, why is this not moving across to the private promoters or the other events? Lack of appreciation.
Yeah. And fine, and money.
Yeah.
I mean, you know what I mean? These youngsters, they are eager to play. Touch, Black Sand, Rebels, I've read the stories. They used to get up every day and go and play in a different community without a pay. So if you are interested in a band, sit down and have a conversation. Fellas, I can't pay you 9,000 or 8,000 or 5,000, but I could give you transportation, I could give you some food, and when things get better, you know what I mean, we could have a conversation. That is a part of the industry, negotiating. You know what I mean? I scratch your back, you scratch my back. It's called clustering. It's called bartering. So Ezzie, you're a promoter, Rodney, you're a band leader. Ezzie, let me cluster. My band play for free. When we pool the profit together, you give me something. I'm not charging you, but you give me something. But we have currently 17 national school bands. Currently. They're not being embraced. I remember as the coordinator, I said to the hotel owners, the restaurant managers, the event managers, the wedding planners, we no longer have excuse of not having live playing musicians. We no longer have that excuse. I would go further. We have an international airport, so we're going to see more visitors. What are they coming to do? Hear the waves? So we have no excuse where that is concerned, Teresa. None.
I want to add something to that. And it comes back to the point I was making a while ago about the lack of bands and carnival events. When you have 17 bands, school bands, which means that the youngsters male and female. They are interested in music. They see the need to be a part of a band or unit at that level. But when they leave that level now and they're expected to go on to be a part of bands and so on and to keep it going, when they sit back and they realize, look, we have some big bands in the country, we have some recognized bands, but they're hardly seeing them on activities or events. They're hardly ever hired to play. So it's not encouraging to them, it's not a good sign for them to want to continue. They get into it at the school level, and at the end of school they might just forget about music, which is a bad thing. For example, in the rest of the Caribbean, every carnival that you attend, you would see a live band on the road. But we have had a number of Vincymas activities, street jam, Juve morning, Monday evening, Tuesday, without a live band. St. Lucia right across the city, I was manager Signal band, we would have carried Signal to St. Lucia to play on the road for a mass band. We would have gone to Barbados Crop Over to play on the road for a mass band. We've gone to Toronto, New York, etc. Right? But in St. Vincent, somebody putting on a t-shirt band on the road would be reluctant to want a higher band to go on the road. So as Rodney said, I'm strengthening the point that Rodney made, is lack of appreciation. It's not that musicians not around and you can't put units together, but DJs seem to be the way to go in the minds of the promoters and the people who organize a lot of the events and activities. And I'm really hoping that the carnival makers are paying attention to this, that despite the increased number of events for carnival, it's not generating revenue for the people who really make carnival.
But, and Teresa, quickly, there's no complaint about bands, you know. We have right now, from the CDC standpoint, we have 4 bands who have approached the CDC for the carnival. So we've seen a turning point. We have the bands in the tents, right? Then we have bands playing in a hotel or restaurant weekly. Big Stones, you're talking about Coconut Grove, you're talking about Status, you're talking about different spots. So there's no complaint about bands. It's just that they're a part of our society that are not embracing it. Not just private sector, no, because the public sector also not appreciating and not supporting live music.
True.
We've seen what it's doing with Jamaica. So we are aware it's around us. We see what it's doing with Trinidad. So again, it's the lack of appreciation in a nutshell.
I think we can do an entire program on this topic, maybe another time. As we get ready to round up this evening's program, what can we expect in the next several weeks as far as Vincymas is concerned, and everybody can jump in here.
We're wrapping up.
Yeah.
Well, for Mass, I want to make a point to the public. You don't have to be vaccinated to play Mass this year. People are still believing that you have to be vaccinated. You don't. So just come on out. You have 12 Mass bands you could choose from, and you don't have to pay $1,500. If you have $200-300, just look for a band that suits your pocket and play Mass. Just come out and play Mass and let's enjoy yourself.
Well, for Pan Teresa, interestingly, we have something that is special this year. History. We're seeing about 8 bands in the senior panorama competition this year, something that has never been done. So Pan is alive and well, and I would repeat that, Pan is alive and well in St. Vincent and the Grenadines. And I just want to say, from the YOULOU Pan movement standpoint, a major thank you to all the band leaders and all the persons who continue to support this wonderful fabric of our culture, steel pan. Interestingly, this year it's called Battle of the Locals. It's all local arrangers and all local players. Why? Because at this point, we want to measure and see where our players and our arrangers is at in terms of their development. Because over the years, we have been bringing in Trinidad arrangers, right? And there was a program where you would work along with the Trinidad arrangers to help develop your arranging skills. Now this year, we want to see where our development is at, where our arrangers are concerned. So we want to encourage persons to come down and support your community band and support your community arranger. Finally, I would like persons to know that we're having Junior Pan Festival, but we're not having it in June, July. It's now moved to October, just for 2022, because the students weren't meeting in school, the volcanic eruption, and COVID-19. But the schools have assured us, along with the arrangers, that we would be ready for October. So Junior Pan Festival would be in October. It's a family event, it's a family atmosphere. So we are happy for that change. It's the month of October. We all are proud to be Vincentian. So it's really going to be a nice activity there in October. Battle of the Locals for the business houses. If you still have a little thing in the penny, in the cookie jar, we welcome the little support.
Yeah, have a hand.
Have a hand. Give us something, because we have orchestras that have up to 80 players, and it's not easy to bring an orchestra to Victoria Park, but we are very determined that, we have to preserve this element. And as I said in closing, Carnival is an institution, and the three of us here, in terms of components, we are departments in this institution.
Okay, Teresa, as you know, next week, as I indicated earlier, we have the preliminaries. Tuesday, Wednesday, Thursday, graduates upstate onto in that order, they're facing the judges. From there, 22 of them go on to what is called the official beginning of Vincymas, the hottest carnival in the Caribbean, Things Nice Again. And does it make a plug for the man who sang that song? He will be the headliner, Wetty Beats. And if you think crazy now, wait until crazy come down on that night. Crazy will come from Trinidad and Tobago. So things will be really nice again. And I hope you catch a flight to come down,
I am thinking about it.
Well, we're not going to cost you, we're going to bring you. on the 28th, because we can never forget the juniors, there must be succession plan. So on the 28th, we have junior CALYPSO. Primary school, secondary school, and then we have the soca segment that embraces both primary and secondary school. On Sunday, the 3rd, quite fittingly, we have what is called Pan Kai Mas. The three brothers and sisters. I don't want to put them. Who's the brother, who's the sister? They will be there on Sunday, what is known as Dimanche Gras. They will be there. 2 competitions, 1 showcase, 1 night. So come out again in your numbers. But I want to hasten to add this, right? Is that when you see we here speaking, we don't have all the answers. And we are appealing to the general public. That's why I said John Public, all hands on deck. Where you can enhance the product by giving suggestions, we welcome them. We are fallible. We are imperfect. We are here as managers, as administrators, and we want to see the product enhanced and reach a level that will satisfy all of you. We don't have all the answers. We are open to you. But do remember, Things Nice Again come out to Vincymas. Notice I didn't just say CALYPSO events, I said Vincymas. This is our national festival. It is indeed the hottest carnival in the Caribbean.
Yeah, well, I would like to start off by mentioning the dates, June 24th to July 5th. For persons who are on the outside still looking for a flight to come to St. Vincent, these are the official dates of Vincymas. And included during that period will be a number of events, different type of activities, stage shows, parties, private promoters event, all-inclusive fest, boat rides to the Grenadines, etc. There's so much to do in St. Vincent during that period of time. And once you come here, you could take minimum amount of sleep and keep going for hours, because we love to party, we love to lime. And the energy in St. Vincent and the Grenadines, when it comes to Vincymas, is one of our strongest selling points. And when you look at Soca Monarch, the evidence is right there. And not only at Soca Monarch, but at various other events, you would find similar type of energy. So if you're looking for action, St. Vincent and the Grenadines is the place to be. Certainly you need to get here. Just to say it, mention Soca Monarch, the Royal Rumble. This is an activity, an event that persons are looking forward to based on the responses towards Soca Monarch in the rural communities. And we know that Royal Rumble on the 26th of June, Sunday 26th, is going to take place in Kingston at the Solidarity Inc. car park. It's a competition, but prior to us going into the car park, we're going to have a little jump up around Kingston and bring people in town for the action, and then we head into the car park. You know, I just wanted to mention that activity because it was previously, advertised for another venue, but there's a change of venue, so I wanted to make sure, put that out. I want to reiterate again the 24th, the event that CABBA spoke about, the CALYPSO semi-finals, is called Things Nice Again. Wetty Beats would be a headline on it. Guest artists and that would be reigning CALYPSO monarch Chanel Mackenzie, and also I want to emphasize Crazy out of Trinidad. He hasn't been here for quite a while, and he's quite excited to be here. We have spoken a couple of days, well, including today, When I spoke to him on Saturday, he was at the gym working out, getting fit. He said he has to be fit to be here. And we discussed a number of songs that he will be performing. And I'm telling you, he's full of humor and ready to entertain us in St. Vincent and the Grenadines. So CALYPSO semi-finals this year, Think Nice Again. And I wonder, you may not be able to see this clearly, but this is a flyer. Mardi Gras. I heard Garth mentioning to the viewers that they should come out and register with any of the 12 bands, and I want to do likewise. This is a flyer that we'll be putting out pretty soon. It's simple. It says Mardi Gras. We up Tuesday, July 5th, play mass. Basically encouraging you to play mass with a band of your choice. So this will be, we'll be pushing this out on social media pretty soon. All right? To the pan lovers, to the pan players, the mass men, the calypsonians, the soca artists, musicians, whatever role you're playing in Vincymas, I want to encourage you to continue to do it. Something for everybody, and I want to encourage you to continue what you do. We all have to work together to continue to build Vincymas. Vincymas 2022, we're looking for big things in 2023, but in 2022, think nice again.
Think nice again.
Okay, perfect note on which to end this evening's edition of Roundtable Talk. Guys, I really, really enjoyed this talk this evening. Thank you very much, Ezzie Roberts. Thank you, Earl, CABBA Bennett. Rodney Small, always a pleasure talking to you, my son. And Garth Niles. Thank all of you so much for being here this evening. We'll talk some more Carnival before the season ends. That's our program for today. Also, thanks to the guys in the studio who made the program possible. Good evening, and see you again next week, Wednesday, at the same time. Bye.
We have all endured the wait for 2 years.
I know you're feeling pain.
Now, our time is here for the masquerade, the sweet sounds of steel, a showcase of CALYPSO and energy like no other at Soca Monarch. St. Vincent and the Grenadines Carnival 2022, June 24th to July 5th. Vincymas, Think Nice Again.
Tingo nice again. When I'm with my friends, we go party and never stop till we end up all in again. But trust me, my friend, things go nice again, it must again. Soca music must make we unite again. Lockdown, drink up, feeling, go down, take time, sit down, remember, came from, I'm on the way, I'm positive, feeling the same, I'm following, I'm top. I'm on top. I don't want to stop. Tingo nice again.
Carnival's important. Huh? Carnival is more important than I think we perhaps admit it to ourselves, and in society it's important. And my fear is that if we go on without Carnival for too much longer, you'll start losing a part of what's important to people.
When there's CALYPSO, Think Nice Again. On Friday, June 24th, Think Nice Again. 22 Calypsonians vying for a place for the finals. Featuring guest performer, Wetty Beats.
But trust me, my friend, things go nice again, it must again.
Think Nice Again at Victoria Park. Admission $25. Stay tuned for more info.